Okay, so today I want to show you how to create this YouTube subscribers counter using the e-ink display called Inkplate 2 from the company named Soldered. And I've actually created something similar a long time ago, but at that time I was using a different e-ink display. It was from Pimoroni and it was connected to the microwave board. And it was only partially working, so let's see if we can get it fully working this time. Let's travel back in time and start with unpacking the display. It's placed inside this nice looking box. And here you can find all the main features listed. From here you can tell that this is not just a display, but it also has a microcontroller being the ESP32, which means that you don't need anything else to get this board up and running. I mean, except for the USB-C type of cable, which you can also find in the box, and it has this very nice violet color. So this is the e-ink display module, and by default it shows this ladybug image and the QR code and of course the name Inkplate 2. On the back of the board there is the ESP32 module, as well as few other components which are not important right now, because what I want to do right now is to connect it to my PC and of course try to upload some sketch. And hopefully it will not be that complicated, because there is the documentation which lists all the steps if you want to use the Inkplate together with the Arduino IDE. As you can see, the first step is to install the Inkplate board definition to the Arduino IDE. If I open the GitHub page and scroll all the way down, you see we have to add this URL to the additional boards manager, so I'll copy this URL. And inside the Arduino IDE, go to File Preferences, click this small button and add this one more URL to the bottom of the list. Click the OK button, then go to the boards manager and search for Inkplate. And since I can see that the soldered Inkplate 2 is listed in here, I will click the install button. Now this process will take a minute or two, but at the end, if everything is successfully installed, if you go to Tools, Boards, you should see the Inkplate boards in here, and our board is soldered Inkplate 2. Back in the documentation, it tells us to install the CH340 drivers, that's the USB to TTL to UART to serial communication chip. I believe I have this installed from a different board, so I will skip this step and go to the next one, which is installing the Arduino library. And this one is called Inkplate Arduino library. Let's see if we can find this library inside the Arduino IDE. So I'll jump to Libraries and type in Inkplate, and there seems to be one, so I will install it. Let's quickly check the documentation if we have everything installed, and it seems to be the case. We have already selected the Inkplate to be our board, so it's time to connect it to the PC. And as soon as I connect it to the power source, I see that the display updates, and after a few seconds it shows a different image. Actually, every time I restarted the board, a different image is displayed. By the way, there is a reset button on the back of the board. You don't have to unplug and plug it again using the USB-C cable. So while the display updates, which takes about 10 or 12 seconds, let me tell you one thing that you have probably already noticed by now. And that's the number of supported colors, which is 3, being the white, black and red. Not much, but could be worse. Actually, having 3 colors is quite nice. So let's jump back to the Arduino IDE and let's see if we can upload a different sketch. And you can find the example sketches by going to File, Examples, then locating the library, which is the Inkplate library, and selecting our board, which is Inkplate 2. And I was quite surprised about how many examples there are provided. I mean, there are only 2 basic examples, but for the advanced we have about 15 or so examples, and we also have quite a lot of different projects. But I will start with the basic one, being this black, white, red, and instead of looking at the code, let's upload it to the display and see what happens. Just click the upload button and wait a few seconds. And once this sketch is successfully compiled and uploaded, the screen again updates. It first shows the message "Welcome to Inkplate 2", and then it continues by drawing different pixels, lines, rectangles, triangles, circles, pretty much anything that you can think of. But of course it takes a lot of time because you cannot partially update the screen, and the screen update takes about 12 seconds. Unfortunately, the only thing that is not displayed in this demo is drawing the image, and that's the only thing that I actually need for my YouTube subscribers counter project. I'm thinking that I will draw everything with images, including the numbers, those digits. Which means that I need to open a different example, for example this one called Inkplate 2 Picture from a RAM, which has 3 different pictures. Judging by the size, looks like those are full screen images, and they are simply drawn inside the setup function. There is also a link to the image utility that we can use to convert the images into those arrays. But we need to first have some image. I've created the image in Photopea, which is a free online graphic editor similar to Photoshop, and it looks something like this. So I started with the white background, then created a new layer, set the foreground color to be red, select the selection tool, select everything, and then select edit stroke of 1 pixel inside. That will be the outline. Create another layer, select some selection, for example like this. Select edit fill and fill it with the foreground color being the red color. That will be the header. Then select the text tool and type in some message, for example the YouTube subscribers count. To make it a little bit more interesting, I've added white pixels into the corners by drawing those using the pencil tool, which is hidden behind the brush tool. Set the size only to 1 pixel and this time set the color to be white. So this pixel, also that pixel, and those 2 pixels on the bottom, which will be this one and the one on the left bottom. Then I've added the YouTube logo, which is simple as well. Just search for the YouTube logo on the Google Images, then copy this into the clipboard, paste it into Photopea, and then scale it by going to Edit, Transform, Scale. And set of course the size to be much smaller, for example only something like this, like 4% or so. Hit the enter key, move it to the right spot, maybe delete the parts that we don't really need to show, the top one and the bottom one, but we only want to show red or white color, which means that we need to convert this to 1-bit image by applying the threshold effect, but only for this layer, so I will press Ctrl-Alt-G to apply it only to this layer, and then create a new color fill layer, being the red color, and again only apply it to this layer, Ctrl-Alt-G, but set the blending mode to screen. So now we have a 1-bit logo only consisting of red or white color. Then I've added the big digits, again using the text tool, and used a simple checkerboard pattern to make those leading zeros semi-transparent. Finally, I've added my logo into the corner, and then to make it more interesting, I've drawn those small particles, again using the pencil tool, and then I move those around with the Alt key, which creates a copy, and just position it on some spot. You can see those are all drawn in the black color, but I've applied the layer effect style of the color overlay, setting this to white color instead, and then I repeated the process for the red particles and for the black particles. And that's pretty much it, so let's export this image in the PNG file format by going to File, Export as PNG file, and open the image converter link from the Arduino IDE, and here select our image. There are some predefined settings for the individual Inkplate boards. I will select the Inkplate 2, which will set the colors to be red and black. For some unknown reason, it also sets the size to be only 104 pixels, but I want this to be full screen, meaning 212 pixels. And since this is a pixel perfect image, I don't need any dithering. Then click the convert button. You can see the preview down here, and this is the array that we need to copy into the Arduino IDE. So I'll just copy this, jump back to the Arduino IDE, and create a new header file by clicking those 3 dots and selecting new tab of the name YouTube background.h, and paste the array in here. Then go to the main sketch and make sure that we include this header file, so YouTube background.h, and we don't need the other 2. And then inside the setup function, we only want to draw 1 image, so I'll just delete those lines of code. And the image name is up on top, which is this Inkplate 2 YouTube Counter, and so on. So I'll just paste it in here. The position is 0, 0, and the size is correct, being the full screen image. I don't need the other header file, so I can just delete those by selecting the tab, clicking the 3 dots and selecting delete. Yes, I want to delete this file, as well as this one, as well as the last one. At this point, the only thing left to do is to click the upload button. And after a few seconds, the full screen image is being displayed on the e-ink display. And I really like the appearance because the red YouTube logo works very nicely with the red, black and white color scheme. Before getting the real data from YouTube, it might be a good idea to update this sketch to support displaying any number. And since we only have 10 digits to choose from, actually 11 because we have this faded 0, instead of using a dedicated font, I will simply use 10 images or 11 images. Which means that we need to first create those images in Photopea and export those. I will measure the size of the individual digits, which seems to be around 25 by 40 pixels, and then I will create a new helper layer that will be the background layer in the white color, and maybe just fade everything a little bit so we know what's going on. And then I will create a copy of our text layer, move it up on top, and only include the digit number 0. I will group both the background and the digit using the Ctrl-G shortcut and rename it to be digit 0. Now in order to export individual images from Photopea, we can use a special naming. If I go to File, Export Layers, you can see that we can use this -e- prefix in the name, and that will cause the group to be exported. So -e- digit 0, then I will copy this group, and of course change the digit to be digit number 1, and rename the group accordingly, so digit 1. And after a little bit of clicking and duplicating layers, we should have all 10 digits going from 0 up to 9. I actually want one more digit, and that will be the faded 0. I will call this 0 faded. And for that one, I will copy this checkerboard pattern, move it up on top over this digit 0, But make sure to not go outside, so select the selection of the background layer, select inverse, and delete the content outside, so that will be the faded 0. And now we can export all those layers by going to File, Export Layers, and click the Export Layers button. This is the content of the exported zip file, and you already know the next step, and that is converting those images into the arrays. Unfortunately, you have to select one by one, set the correct size, which is 25 by 40 pixels, click the Convert button, and copy the content into the clipboard. Inside our Arduino sketch, I will add a new header file and call it YouTubeDigits.h. Click the OK button and then paste the content and repeat the step for every single digit. In the end, the content of the file might look something like this. So we have digits going from 0 all the way up to digit number 9. And the last digit is the digit number 0 faded. Now what I want to do is I want to have some kind of array from which I can call those images or reference those images. And you get that array if you use the image2cpp website to export images. Unfortunately, the image2cpp doesn't support the color format of our used e-ink display, but we can still use it to get a sense of how this array should look like. So if I click the generate code, there should be this array on the very bottom of the page. So I'll just copy only this helper array and paste it in our Arduino code. And you can see that we have this array called EPB bitmap all array. I will rename it to bitmaps digits. And those names are of course not matching the names of our digits. So I will simply use our names going from digit 0 to digit 1 and so on and so on. With the last digit being our digit 0 faded. Which means that we now have all the individual images as well as the array which we can use to reference those images. Back in our main sketch, we need to make sure to include those digits, so include YouTube digits. And let's create a few helper variables. One of the type integer will be called subscribers count, and let's hardcode this value for now, for example 223. We also need a helper string that will be the array of characters, and let's call this subscribers count string and use for example up to 10 different characters. Inside our main loop, we want to first draw the background image and then we want to draw every single digit. So I'll create a for loop for integer I equals 0. While the I is more than 5 because we'll have 5 different digits, I want to increase I by 1, and inside this loop we will draw those individual digits, but before we do that we will convert this integer to the string using the sprintf function, sprintf, and we want to convert it into the subscribers count string. We want to convert one integer which is a %d, and the integer name is subscribers count. Now what I can do in here is to type in some special characters. If I type in 05, it will automatically add up to 5 leading zeros into our string. Let's create a new integer variable and call this character index, and let's set it to the current character of the counter I, but that will give us some ASCII value, so we need to subtract some value to get values going from 0 up to 9. And if I look at the ASCII table, the character number 0 is the decimal value of 48, so we need to subtract 48. So back in our code, I will subtract 48, and then we will draw this image using the display draw image function. We already know that the size is 25 by 40 pixels, and we also know that the image name will be taken from this file, from this bitmap digits array, and the index will be our newly calculated character index value. What we don't know is the x and y positions. For that, I will quickly jump into the photopea and select one of those digits, and then click the distances checkbox up on top, which will tell us that the x position for the first digit will be 80 and the y position will be 43. So let's keep that in mind and type it in here. So x will be 80 and y will be 43. But of course we want to increase the x position with every new digit, and the spacing should be 25 pixels. So it will be 25 times I plus 80. So let's try to run it on the real display. And it looks nice. It shows the value of 123 with 2 leading zeros. But those zeros, they are not faded, and that's because we haven't set to be faded yet. So let's quickly fix that with adding a few more if statements. Before drawing the digit, we want to see if the character index is 0. So if the character index equals 0, we need to find out if to draw a regular 0 or faded 0. And we will draw the faded 0 in 2 different cases. The first will be if the I equals 0, so it's the very first digit. Or the second possibility is if the I does not equal 0, so it's not the first digit, but at the same time the previous digit was 0. So if the subscribers count string of index I minus 1 equals 48. So in both of those cases, and let me add a few more parentheses, we want to draw the faded 0, which means that the character index should be set to 10. Let's upload it one more time and see what happens. And sure enough, now those 2 zeros are faded. So we know how to display any value on the e-ink display, of course only up to 5 digits, but this value is still being hard-coded. Thankfully, getting the real number, the YouTube channel subscribers count, is fairly simple. But that's only because there is an example sketch which does exactly that. It's called YouTube Subscribers Counter, and you can find it in File, Examples, Inkplate Library, Inkplate 2, Projects, and there it is, Inkplate 2 YouTube Subscribers Counter. Now before running this sketch, we need to set a few things. First of all, it's getting the data from the internet, so it has to be able to connect to your Wi-Fi, and for that you need to set the Wi-Fi name and the Wi-Fi password. Next thing is getting the channel ID, which is not the channel name, but we have all those instructions, so you have to open Google Chrome, open your channel or any channel, and then right-click and select View Page Source. And in here, search for the external ID, which is this string down here. So just copy this piece of text and paste it in our Arduino sketch. And the last step is to get the API key, for which you have all the steps as well. Starting with opening this console.developers.google.com. And here we should create a new project. So I'll select the project, select the new project, name it for example YouTube Counter, hit the create button. Here we should click the enable APIs and services button, and we should search for YouTube. And we are looking for this YouTube Data API v3, so I'll click it and click the enable button. Once this is enabled, we want to click this button called create credentials. I think we want to click the public data, and here is the key that we are looking for, so I'll copy it into clipboard and click the done button. Back in the Arduino sketch, I will paste this API key, and before uploading it on the Inkplate board, I have to of course enter a real Wi-Fi name and a real password. So I will do that and click the upload button. But as you can see, there is a problem. It looks like that it is found that this source sans pro regular.h file was maybe initially placed inside this fonts folder, but when this example was copied from the examples folder, it may have just put it into the main folder, so I'll just delete this folder and just keep it like this. And I was also missing one library inside this network.h file. There was this Arduino JSON library which I haven't had installed, so I had to go to libraries, search for the Arduino JSON and install this library. So one more click on the upload button and hopefully it will work now. And once everything is successfully uploaded, the sketch will show the image of the YouTube logo, and after a while it will jump into the next page, and here it shows the channel name, the number of subscribers, the number of views and the number of videos. So it shows even more information that we actually need. The next step will be combining this sketch together with our digits sketch to display the number of subscribers using big digits. And hopefully it should be as simple as copy-paste. On the left side we have the subscribers counter sketch, and on the right side we have our digits sketch. And I will start by copying those header files, so in here I will also create a new file with the name of itbg.h and copy the content inside here, as well as creating a new file that will be youtube_digits.h, and again copy the content inside here. Then in the main sketch make sure to include both of those header files, so include YouTube digits and YouTube background. I will copy it and paste it up here. I will also copy and paste our helper variables. And then if I look at the code, you can see we have this splash screen we can just keep. Then we are converting the data to text and drawing everything using this draw all function, which is down here. And I guess I will just reuse this draw all function by commenting everything that's inside and pasting our code. We want to start with clearing the display, drawing the background and drawing every single digit, so just paste it in here. But we haven't set the subscribers count variable, so we have to set it inside this code up here. So when we are getting the data, I want to set the subscribers count to be the channel.subscribers. However, the channel subscribers is type of long, and our subscribers count is type of integer, which might not be big enough to hold all the numbers. I will change our subscribers count also to be type of long, and since we've made this change, we also have to update the sprintf function. So down here for the sprintf function, converting the integer into the string, we are now converting long into the string, so we have to type in LD instead, and that should be enough. So just give me a second to insert my real Wi-Fi name and Wi-Fi password and click the upload button. And after the intro screen disappears, it's showing the number of subscribers. I believe the number is correct, but as you can see, the last 0 shouldn't be faded. Somehow I haven't realized that when there is a number 0 somewhere inside the number, the next 0 after that will be faded. It doesn't have to be all the way in the beginning. So even when I wanted to end this video right now, I will make one more change to fix it. And instead of adding more code, I will actually delete it. We have all those if statements for all the possible cases, but that's only because we are adding leading zeros, and we can have also the 0 inside the number. But what we can do inside the sprintf function is instead of adding 0, we will add a space by deleting the 0. So we will now add up to 5 spaces, and we can easily convert the space into our faded 0. So the space ASCII value is 32. We can say if the subscribers count string of the index I equals 32. In that case, this is a space, so we will turn it into faded 0 by saying that the character index equals 10. If that's not the case, that's a number, and in that case we'll set the character index to be subscribers count string minus 48. That will be the same. I'll just define the variable outside of this loop, and then I can delete this whole section of the if statements. And that should be all that's needed, so let's press the upload button for the last time today, hopefully. And now it works as expected. Obviously there is still room for improvement. We are getting the channel name, the number of videos and number of views, but we are not showing those informations. Also, we are quite limited with only having 5 digits, which I guess works for me for now, but maybe sometime in the future? Well, I don't know. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Thanks and bye.